Ooh, and old Goosen's knees just holding up in that line break. Inside to Papier, and you want your scrum half to throw this long ball to Kriel. Rugby. Ugh, those quarterfinals were a bit shit, hey? Definitely won't be thinking about them in years to come. But luckily we had that banger final at Twickenham, and we have a new Springbok squad. The first one since the World Cup. We will be looking at that. But first, let's just go over the URC QFs. Munster versus Ospreys. Top of the table, Munster took on the plucky Ospreys first up on Friday night. Munster did the whole kicky and then the whole tackly, and unfortunately the Ospreys did not have the exity to get back upfield. Semi-finals now for Munster, and at least a positive season for Booth's troop. Bulls versus Benetton. Didn't I say that the Bulls need to sort out their defence? They made the Loftus faithful burst blood vessels on Saturday with their loose rugby. Benetton is a good team, and Ratave had a blast running over, around and through Seb de Klerk and Goosen on the wing. Luckily, the Bulls had Nizam Khan on the field to scramble back and clean up all the messes. The Bulls now get to host a semi-final at Loftus. But at what cost? What cost? Leinster versus Ulster. Isn't it absolutely insane that Leinster could field a team with 14 island internationals starting against Ulster in the next game? Those starters and the smattering of internationals coming off the bench didn't have much trouble ending Ulster's year with a comfy 43-20 win. At least now we might see that team of internationals coming to South Africa for a change in the semi-final. In fact, there might be more of them coming for this game than the true international matches in July. Glasgow versus the Stormers. The last quarterfinal was at a very windy Scotstoun between the Warriors and the Stormers, which I just said, so sorry. I tuned in late because I love my wife and kids, but I immediately saw someone holding the ball on the tee for Marnie. I knew the Stormers were cooked right then and there. They have not travelled well this year, and if the weather's bad, they are even worse. Glasgow played the win better, defended better, and converted their chances better. Maybe next year for the Irk-1 champs. So we're left with a lovely set of semis now, hopefully. Munster will be hosting Glasgow in a friendly, totally not ugly rivalry that involves claims of biting and knee shots and all kinds of ugly things. And the Bulls will host the team that will be visiting Pretoria in July. So if you couldn't get tickets for that game, just go to this one. It should be a blockbuster. I think we might be seeing an all-Irish final though. The Bulls just have too many injuries, and Munster are in that we do not lose part of their season. While the Irk was going through the quarter-final motions, the English Prem held a banger final at Twickenham. Northampton went into the final as the league toppers, and they were joined by Bath, who came second in the league, so perfect final. Unfortunately, it turned a little less than perfect at about 20 minutes when Bath received a red card for a bad tackle. It made things a lot harder, but not impossible. Bath were actually leading at 70 minutes until Hendy broke through and created a try that gave the game back to Northampton. They held on for the win, and legends like Courtney Laws got to leave their lifelong club as champions. Cool. Hey, Super Rugby is valid. They held their quarterfinals this weekend too, and oops, all Kiwis plus the Brumbies again. Do not despair though, my child. None of the final set of 4 have a logo of 2 hogs touching for the first time in like a decade. So go the Blues, or maybe the Brums, because it would be pretty cool if an Aussie made the final. The news is there's an entire Springbok squad in here. It's so heavy. I didn't only miss the start of the Stormers game. I also missed the end. I wasn't going to stay up until midnight to watch them embarrass themselves in the in-goal. Saru did stay up. They released the new Springbok squad in the middle of the bloody night and probably ruined a whole bunch of cocktail dates in the process. The 35-man squad will be training together now for the Wales test that's taking place in London on the 22nd of June, where both the Raven Shield and the CAC will be up for grabs. There are a lot of caveats in this squad for now. No players based in Europe, Ireland or the UK are eligible for the match, so Pollard and Visa are only there to hold tackle bags. Also, no Bulls either, because they are still busy winning the Irk. Because of all those caveats, we do have the exciting prospect of 11 new players in the squad. Fouchier, Dixon, Sasha and Venter are new from the Stormers, with Buthelezi, Masuku and Hooker new from the Sharks. And finally, the Lions have the potential to have actual Springboks in the form of Kwan, Edwall, Jordan and Mornay, who are in the squad. I think I'm gonna cry. Speculation is already rife about what team the Boks will go with first, but they can pick a pretty settled pack with Bongi Mbanambi, Oxenche, Malherbe, Etzebeth, Pieterstef and Kwacha all available. What a pack. It'll be at fly-off and the back three that I will be most curious. No Pollard or Damian Willemse means we might get Mani starting with Masuku on the bench. Very cool. And since Willie will still be drinking brandy out of the Urk trophy, we could be seeing a very green back three with Kwan, Edwall and maybe Mapimpi offering support. Or maybe Fassi will be there, I don't know. I am not a box selector. Call me back, Rassie, please. Frustratingly, the Boks weren't too shy about dropping games in the last cycle in the name of building depth. But if one takes a dose of copium, those losses could be laid at the feet of a lost year through COVID and needing a settled squad for the BNI Lions. There just wasn't much time for experimentation. Still hurt though. Maybe this cycle the Boks will be less inclined to make 14 changes from game to game and then losing almost half the games in South Africa. I think it is high time we start winning more games between World Cups so that Saffers will just please stop responding to Ben Smith articles and we can keep the Raven Shield and the CAC trophy for as long as possible. I am excited. International rugby is just around the corner. Look at my socks. And now let's come down because the news is a little sad at the end. The Melbourne Rebels have joined the other Warriors, the Wasps and London Irish in the great club graveyard in the sky. It was announced last week that this past weekend's game would be the Rebels' last if they lost. And they lost, so they are gone. At the end of the day, they never made a huge impact in Super Rugby and they just had too much debt to continue playing. There are great players and staff at that organisation and I hope they all get to continue doing their work in rugby in some form. Kevin Foote looks like a good oak, and not just because he's also a Joburger. Luckily, it seems the club game in Victoria is very strong, so the people there will not be starved of some form of union. Farewell, Rebels. It was nice knowing you. And it was nice having you all here for this week's rugby update. I will see you all next week as we try and ignore the smugness coming out of Ireland rugby. It is not my job to take that smugness. It is only to give it. Bye.